a great day, Keller Williams. This is Melissa. How can I help you? Mike, who was going to drop it off? Mike Phillips. Let me check just one moment, okay? Hey, I was Somali on the phone. He said that there was going to be an envelope for him that Mike left. Do you know anything about that? Is it one of them that's at the front? I'm in the back starting this class. I just want to make sure. Okay. Right. Hey. Okay, no, he's at his phone. Hi, how are you? New faces. I like that. Yeah. Bye. I already shared the screen. Oh, you did? Okay, cool. Yeah, and that new tab. This one? Yeah. This one, right? This is your sharing screen right here? No, you can go here. Oh, okay, cool. All right. How's everybody doing? Good? I'm Lola. Nice to meet everybody. And I'm going to go over Qualia today. So what are your names? What's your name?
Francisco.
Francisco, nice to meet you. And your name? Zena. Zena, nice to meet you.
San.
San? What's your last name?
Head.
Nice to meet you. Are you sure? I think you already know this.
This is all basics?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have any questions though.
I know. No,
Okay, so today I'm gonna go basically over basic Qualia, which is the software that we use for you guys to like submit your orders. Hi. So for you guys to submit your orders. So inshallah, when you guys get your first order, I'm assuming, and forgive me if I'm wrong, has anybody here had an order yet? Not yet, inshallah.
what do you mean order?
Like, so when you get a purchase agreement, assign offer, yeah, have you ever had any offers or anything yet? No. Okay, so when you get a new offer, you have to submit it to the title company so that we can review the title on it, make sure the property is taken care of any means, and we're the ones that coordinate your closing. We handle your closing for you. Okay, so we help you get to that closing table. So when you submit an order to us, the first time you're gonna have to email us the purchase agreement, or we can like input your information in our system. Then you're gonna get like an invitation email, and then after that is what you will do to upload upload an order to our system. But how many do you guys know what a title company does? Or no? It's okay if you don't. You don't? Okay, you don't.
It's kind of blurry, just the idea.
Okay. Let me go and get into my email. And then I have something else that'll actually probably be more beneficial for you guys.
Isn't it like the title company makes sure that there are no meetings, going on, nothing on the house, right?
Yeah.
Kind of.
But since I always forget my password. Well, since I have new faces in here. Let's see, Okay. Just give me a minute, because I'm gonna kind of, I don't think my audience, I don't think, Kalish,
Hi, Lola.
I think you guys would be better off learning more about what we do as a title company. Lola knows what we do, but just so, okay, here we go. Okay. I did this a few years ago when KW first opened, and I feel like it's really good to go through it because then it'll help you understand what we do from A to Z. That way we're not jumping into orders because that way you guys will understand, okay? Because I believe that like knowledge is power. So, so a lot of people don't know what a title agency is. I always tell the story of like this guy that called my office one time asking to speak to me so I can get the title for his ice cream truck. Because people assume that like title means I can get your car titles too. No, what a title insurance agency does is we examine the properties, we do like a 40-year search, and we figure out if there are any liens on the property, right? So like we have a sophisticated real estate title search service. What that means is if I'm buying a house right now from you, okay, I'm not gonna say, okay, here's 100,000. Give me your house. You need to keep your house. There's a process. How do I know that you don't owe the bank money? How do I know that there are no outstanding water bills? How do I know that you've been paying your taxes on time? You know, how do I know there are no judgment liens against your name? I don't, right? And you giving me the keys doesn't mean that I legally own that home. I need for it to be on what we call public record. So that's why you have a title agency involved, because we help facilitate all of that, okay? And when I say public records, I don't mean PRD. We use a much more sophisticated tool than public records. I personally don't like PRD, but all my agents use PRD, right? I mean, you guys, I use PRD to like pull. What do you guys pull up PRD? Like,
Well, it gives us access from real time to PRD.
yeah,
So it's just a lot easier for us.
yeah, okay.
But it's not
And the
really as
person-
accurate as you guys.
It's not as accurate. So sometimes on PRD, they might show like the old owner's name or like an owner that's not even on title, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, because we give the buy updated. It's not always updated, but sometimes. So now I'm going forward a little bit. So at the closing table, and the Dami knows this, I give the buyer a form that's called a property transfer affidavit. And they have 45 days to file this with the city. Okay, and what that property transfer affidavit does is it updates public records. So if I give your buyer a form and I say, yeah, 45 days to take to the city, if you don't, you're gonna be charged a $200 fee. A lot of them will forget about it because they're in the process of moving, or some of them just don't care. If they don't take that form to the city, most likely the public records that you guys are pulling up on Realcom are not updated.
Okay, so like I'm buying the house now, okay?
Okay.
And I'm looking for one, so then somebody from the title company should be present at the time of the closing.
Yes.
And you would give me a document, right?
Mhm.
So that I can, look up
Yeah.
I have to register public records. Is
Yeah.
that it?
Yes, not, you don't we register the deed with the Wayne County Registered Deeds Office or the County Registered Deeds Office.
Okay.
Okay, but the form I give you is just to update it with the city,
Oh, okay.
and somehow that's linked to public records.
It is, but you just did a deal for me not too long ago. Remember so a lady did a property transfer affidavit. On your system, it showed her name on PRD with us. I didn't see her name. So like, we had a problem with title.
We pulled out BSA.
Yeah, so
BSA.
I don't know.
Yeah, that we do think a little bit. I mean, Nancy's ultra conservative. But yeah, so that's like really getting deep into it. Hey Maya, we're going over title 101 basis, so it's good.
Sounds good.
So, we'll give you that form, but that's like further out. I'm just explaining like what PRD is.
And I'm just giving an example that's not always updated. It showed the owner.
But Rami, that property transfer affidavit, the last one that was filed, PRD did show that person's name. You just can't see the prior name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the city always updates whoever files it last.
Okay.
We have a chain. We can see who filed it first, second, third, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Eventually, we prepare a preliminary title report, which is called commitment, and I'll give it to you. And then I teach several classes on how to read those as well, which is great for all of you to know how to read, but that gives you your basic information. So for example, it'll confirm the owner of the property and identify any cloud of information. I can't tell you how many times my listing agents send us an order. Okay, so let's say you went and you had your listing contract signed, you send us the order and Ali Beydoun owns the property, okay? That's who you think owns it, because you went, you met with him, he showed you the house, he signed the agreement, you sent me the deal, and guess what? My client doesn't show Ali Beydoun as the owner. Somebody else is the owner. And that's where you guys would need us to help you clear that issue on title. Okay, so it's really good to be able to identify those issues ahead of time, because another problem is when my agents don't look at their commitments, when you don't even look at the report, a lot of agents think, oh, I got it from the title company. You know what? I'm good to go. Now we can close whenever the bank is clear, for example. And then you come to me and I get to the table and I'm like, oh, hi, are you, John Smith? It's like, no, I'm Ali Beydoun. I'm like, well, you're not the owner. Yeah, I am. That's happened several times.
Okay, so then the closing can, be completed, right?
Yeah, so then we have to stop the closing, go back and figure out what the issue is, okay? So, the commitment will confirm the owner of the property. This goes back to what I was just talking about. Always review what we send you to make sure it matches your purchase agreement or your listing contract. Okay, always good to look at as well, to make sure your buyer's name is spelled right. We want to make sure that everything is good to go for the closing, because if we get to the closing table and your buyer's name is spelled wrong, we got to go back and redraw docs, okay? Okay. Understanding a commitment. I can review a commitment. Do you guys want me to review a commitment with you or not yet? It's up to you guys. Because when I initially shared this presentation years ago, I actually reviewed a commitment with all of you. Would you like for me to review one with you? Okay. Let me just see. I know I have one. So everything that I share on the commitment is actually, this is my system, so. Okay. I just happened to do this closing, so. Okay, so this is what a title commitment looks like, okay? The first few pages are very standard, but this is what matters the most right here. Let me just download this and open it. Okay. Okay, so this is what we call Schedule A, okay? On Schedule A, you're going to see the commitment date. The commitment date is not the day that you order title. It's not the day that you receive an offer. It's not the day that you sign a purchase agreement. The commitment date to us is what we call an update or a date down. That's just our terminology. And what this commitment says is that anything that was put on public record after February 1st, we can't see yet. So if somebody went and recorded a deed last week against this property, we still can't see it yet. That's what that means. Anything recorded after February 1st, 8 a.m., we can't see it. And periodically, we're going to do what we call date downs, which is an update of the commitment. The day of the closing, the morning of the closing, we'll also run a date down to make sure nothing new popped up on title during the gap period. A gap period is any time from that date till today. Today's March 8th, 9th. So February 1st to March 9th is what we call a gap period. So if you have a professional seller, a seller that's a professional con artist and they know what they're doing, they could take out like a home equity line of credit on the property last week. Back then, that's what they used to do. They would take out like $200,000, and then we wouldn't know as a title agency. We would close on it.
When would they take that? Is it
During the gap period.
Okay.
So at the table, we have the seller sign a document that's called, hi Sonia, that's called an owner's affidavit that acknowledges that they haven't taken out any new mortgages or liens against the property, and during that gap period, it's been free and fair.
Okay.
Okay, so now it's a little bit harder to do that This commitment was updated this morning. I just happened to close on this an hour ago, this property. So I know we updated it. Alhamdulillah, nothing new showed up, but it's good for you guys to understand what that is, okay? So the commitment date means that anything recorded, that's the last day that we can see anything was recorded. Now it's probably up to like February 20th, okay? The policy to be issued, this is the loan, this is the mortgage company, and then the loan amount, okay? This is also going to show you who owns the property. Number 4, you see how it says title to the fee simple estate? Fatma owns this property. Do you see her name? So if you have a listing contract and a guy named Ali signs it and you get this back from us and Ali's name is not on here, we have a problem. That's when you take it upon yourself to call. And there's many times where, you know, we find out that, oh no, Ali was just signing on behalf of Fatma. He has to have a power of attorney, but yeah, but that, in the event that happens, we gotta have him sign it. Yeah, unless it's not a power of attorney, but yeah. So people think that they could just sign because it's my wife. No, the person that legally owns the property has to sign the purchase agreement, because a purchase agreement is a legally binding contract. Okay, so you have to make sure that the person who signs a purchase agreement always matches number 4 on Schedule A. Okay, that's the first page of the title agreement that we
So
look.
what's the title premium?
This is the amount that the buyer has to pay for their loan. So the bank, there's 2 types of title insurance policies, which we'll get to as well. There's the owner's policy, which is what the seller pays, and then the loan policy. The only time you don't need a loan policy is when your buyer is paying cash for a transaction. If they're paying cash, there is no need for a loan title insurance policy because there's no loan.
There's no loan.
And in this case, the buyer took out a mortgage, he took out a loan, and the title insurance premium based on $239,920 is $860. That's how much the buyer has to pay.
The buyer has to pay that.
Yes, the seller has to pay based on the sales price.
Okay.
Okay, so the seller's fee is different. And title insurance varies. It depends on the sales price and the loan amount. Go ahead, ma'am.
So you know how you do a date down for the day of the closing?
Yeah,
What if something pops up?
happens all the time. I did it where I had a closing and a divorce popped up. And she was selling and I called her. I said, hey, I'm calling you for the closing today at 3 o'clock. And a divorce popped up and she's like, oh, yeah, I'm in the middle of a divorce. I said, he has to sign, or we have to wait till your divorce is finalized and the judge determines who the house belongs to. She's like, he's not gonna sign. I said, I'm so sorry. We're gonna have to wait to get a final divorce decree because it just popped up. She just filed. So my advice is to make sure your sellers are not going through a divorce, and if they're about to go through a divorce, tell them to wait till you sell the house. Because at that point, it becomes 50% marital property, but that's different. Yeah.
So you said on the day of the date that it popped up, so how come it didn't pop up before?
Because Wayne County is always going to be behind. The Register of Deeds office, that's a great question. They're always behind. That's why there's a gap period. That's why the bank, they require what we call like gap letters, which are also known as closing protection letters. You guys will never have to deal with that. That's what we deal with when we're handling the transaction between us and the bank. But they're constantly asking us on a weekly basis to send them gap letters, acknowledging and swearing that we will indemnify them if there's anything recorded against the property. Okay, so that's what that's for. But yeah, that's a great question, Maya. Thanks for asking, because it happens all the time. Sometimes a judgment lien pops up where they owed a credit card money and it pops up and I'm like to the seller, you have to pay it.
So what do you do? Do you postpone the closing?
Depends on how big the issue is. So if the new mortgage pops up, we need to pay off. How fast can you pay off? If you can give me a payoff within the next hour, easy.
Okay.
If a divorce pops, sometimes a divorce will come up and the spouse is willing to sign. Oh yeah, we're going through divorce, but still, he'll sign. He'll be at the closing. Thank you. Now we have to add his name to all the docs, even if he's not entitled. Because when you file for divorce, immediately everything is kind of like put on hold, and the other person has 50% to that property. Like that, the judge, we can't determine as a title agency. You can't determine as an agent who's owed what. The judge has to make that determination. So we kind of put it on pause unless the person is willing to work with their spouse. Then we would add their name to all the documents. They would have to be at the closing, and then once they sign, everybody's covered. Because if that husband or spouse gets to that courtroom and he's like, she sold the property and I filed for divorce on February 20th, but she sold it on March 5th, guess what? He has a claim. He has a lawsuit. And he's gonna take everybody down with him. You know, so we have to cross our T's and dot our I's. So, and by the way, in the event that doesn't pop up, but your seller is going through a divorce and they don't tell us about it, they sign that form that I had them sign at the closing table, they're not in the middle of a divorce, you don't have any secret federal tax liens against your name, they sign it, we will go back and turn it to that seller. Because they swear that they're not in the middle of a divorce.
But I mean, they're responsible because she signed and she said, I'm not going through a divorce, nothing. So
Exactly, but if we
You're
get
not held
sued,
responsible.
no, we're not, but if we get sued for it, then we're gonna have to turn around and sue that seller. But then like everybody's in a mess now, we're all like in a big lawsuit, the brokerage, agent, us, seller, buyer, it's just a headache.
Does that happen often?
No, alhamdulillah, it's never happened to me. I've had crazy things happen, but alhamdulillah, no spouse. Actually, this is actually a funny closing. It was from Mouj. It was actually a really funny closing. The sellers were getting divorced and they were a younger couple. And I think their divorce was finalized. And like he was on his phone and she grabbed it to go through it. So they started fist fighting in the closing room. It was really embarrassing. Mouj walked out. Mouj is very awkward as it is. So he walked out, it was really funny. But yeah, so no, alhamdulillah, I've never had a closing stop because of it. Okay, do you have any other questions about this page? The main thing you want to see here is you want to make sure that the seller's name is on here. Okay. Oops.
Hello?
Oh yeah, who's that?
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Hi Amanda, good, how are you?
I was just wondering, what if there's death? If both people are on the purchase agreement and then one of them dies?
That's such a good question. So who's both people? It depends on who's both people. Is it husband and wife?
Yeah.
If it's husband and wife, okay, first of all, even if they die and it has to go to probate, that purchase agreement is still valid, FYI. I did a closing last week for Michael. Closed at 10 a.m. We had finished closing at 11 a.m. on the seller side.
Oh my God.
We had closed and just dispersed, and one of the sellers died at 11 a.m. haram. So,
Oh, wow.
but if she had passed away before that closing, the purchase agreement still would have been valid. We would have had to wait. Sometimes there's going to be a probate issue, and the judge is going to give like a letter of authority to a personal representative of that estate to sign on their behalf because that purchase agreement still is valid. But if it's husband and wife and they both sign the purchase agreement and they're on title together and the spouse dies, all we need is the death certificate and we could still move forward with the closing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, but inshallah that doesn't happen to any of your sellers. I'm assuming it's a hypothetical question.
No, it's not.
Oh, really? Did it really happen?
Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny when
alhamdulillah.
we used to talk about this in our meetings, I used to be like, oh, this will never happen to me. And look.
Yeah. So we see some crazy things on our side.
It's
Okay,
so
these are the requirements. Do you have any other questions, Amanda? I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
Okay, these are the other requirements. Don't let this scare you. This just means that this is what we need to clear title, okay? The first few are standard. They're going to be on every commitment, even if the requirements are free and clear of any means. This is always going to be on a commitment, so don't ever let that scare you, okay? Number 5 may have scared like our agent, but this was Mike's listing side. What this says is there appears to be an error in the legal description. Do you guys know what a legal description is? The legal description is on Schedule A. Oh, but this legal description is actually attached as Exhibit A. So let's move forward to the legal description because I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. In Dearborn, the legal descriptions are pretty straightforward. Like when you go to Northville, it's going to say 90 degrees northeast corner of, and then it's called what we call a meets and bounds, and it's usually like a really long paragraph. This is most of Dearborn's legal descriptions. Lot 12, Ardress subdivision, Library 36, page 30. That's the legal description. A title agency, we always want your address, of course, but we don't insure 5101 Horger. What we insure is Lot 12, Ardress subdivision, Library 36, page 30 of Wayne County records. That's why sometimes you will get an email from us saying, could you please clarify what the legal description of this property is? Because 5101 Border shows multiple lots, for example. So which lot is your seller selling? And I can't tell you how many times I've had legal description issues with parking spots. So a lot of like those condos in downtown Detroit, they come with parking spots. If you guys ever have a sale for a condo or a loft in downtown Detroit, make sure you include that parking lot on the purchase agreement. Because if you don't, your buyer will come after you years later. Okay? So that's just good information to know. But this, we mentioned this purposely and intentionally in our commitment. The property address and tax parcel identification number are listed solely for informational purposes. Why do we put that on there? Because we're not insuring that. I'm not insuring 5101 Hoarder. Again, I'm insuring the legal description. Okay, so what, now let's go back to our requirements. My requirements show that there's an error in the legal description, creating a cloud on said title. Okay. There was a quitclaim deed recorded in 2013 that messed up the entire chain of title. It gave somebody else interest in the property. We actually, for this particular file, the seller happened to know who that person was. We created a legal document called the Scrivener's Error Affidavit. She actually came in and signed it and we notarized it. So we were able to clear that, no problem. But once in a while, you're gonna get those tough deals that are not so easy, where the seller doesn't know the person that put that on title. And we have to work a little bit harder to get that cleared. Now, let's say we couldn't find her anywhere. Let's say we couldn't find her anywhere. Shoot, my title's messed up right now. How am I gonna sell this house? There's a few options. You would have to bring it to me and I will review it and like do it like a thorough search myself, because I don't search every single file. Like, we have a team that does that, right? But in the event that you need like an exception made, I would have to review the file myself, get back with my underwriter and see if we can make a business decision to make an exception and insure over it. That's like the last thing that we want to do, right? Because we don't want anything, we don't want to risk anything. But in the event that we make a business decision to insure over a policy, your buyer's covered, so you don't have to worry about it. So it all depends on what the chances are of us being dragged into a lawsuit, right? Secondly, in the event that I'm like, no way, like I can't show over this is bad. You would have to file a quiet title action with an attorney and it takes a couple months, okay? But alhamdulillah, we're pretty good at like clearing title. So we've, once in a great while, we're gonna have to quiet title. That's for different issues, if it's like a tax forfeiture, but we'll get into that later, okay? So this clearly, right off the bat as an agent, when you get this, you know, this is not clear. There's an error on title. We have to fix that. And if you have any questions, you can always come to us. Sandy, who works here inside KW all the time, she's always here. She's great. She clears title all day. So that's all she does, okay? This over here is just acknowledging that the buyer is taking out a mortgage for this amount. That's all it says. You don't have to do anything for that. We note that okay, so this says that we don't have any open mortgages. But if you're a listing agent and your seller tells you at the appointment, I owe money, like I owe Comerica Bank 100,000, and the commitment shows clear, you need to tell us. You have to tell us, okay? Because a lot of times the banks don't properly record those mortgages, or title agencies may drop the ball. They may not record the mortgage when they were supposed to, or that mortgage is recorded against the wrong property. So you know how I just showed you Exhibit A, the legal description? Do you know how many times, if let's say you're taking out a mortgage, you're selling and Sonia's, or you're buying a house and Sonia's buying a house and the closings are back to back, okay? This doesn't happen often, but it happens once in a while. And then there's multiple closings going on and we're all in the closing room. Her legal description somehow falls, ends up behind your mortgage. Now your mortgage is against her property. Okay, so you see what that means? So now this property doesn't have any mortgages on it, for example, but Sonia's property now has two mortgages, her mortgage and the one and yours. So there's an error there. So it happens all the time where we just have to fix it and you have no idea of that error. But if your seller tells you I owe a mortgage on this property and it's not entitled, you have to let us know. Okay, so that's always good to keep an eye open on that. Now, in this case, seller doesn't owe a mortgage. It's free and clear, okay? Okay, here, if the subject property is connected to all public water sewer, actually, all of the cities in Wayne County have water, also it's like a condo, right? A lot of times the condo association will pay the water bill. In Detroit, for some reason, I've had this problem a lot. We'll get the account water number and the water bill will be like $700. So we'll hold like 1,000 in escrow. And there's another account number that was missing that we didn't have. And it's like a $3,000 water bill. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to solve those issues, but that's in there to protect us because if the water bill is more than what we collected for, because we couldn't see it, we can't take responsibility for that. So we do put it on the seller, okay? This is gonna show you payment of taxes. 2021 taxes have been paid in full. It's March 9th, so if they weren't paid, where would they be? Do you know, Sonia?
Say that again.
If the taxes, bless you,
Oh,
if the taxes weren't paid, do you know where they would be today, March 9th?
oh,
Like, where do they get transferred to? The county. March 1st,
Yeah.
remember we talked about it last time. So March 1st, if your taxes were not paid last year, March 1st, they're transferred to the county. If you haven't paid taxes in 3 years, that means 3 years of March.
Yeah,
Goes
the
by
cutoff
when you have
date
these
is March
taxes?
1st after the third year.
Yeah.
Right?
After the 3rd year of not paying those taxes, you lost the property to the tax auction. That's a tax forfeiture, okay?
So what would happen in this sale, because there's a situation right now with someone.
He lost his property?
No, she's in the middle of, the closing is March 15th. And then they haven't paid the taxes in 3 years.
Do you want to give me the address or no?
Yeah, or
I can pull it up right now.
I'll give it to you later.
Okay, because I can pull it up on Wayne County Public Records.
Yeah. What would
Okay.
happen? They go
No.
through the closing?
They can still pay it right now. The tax auction hasn't happened yet. Does the county website give you the option to pay it? Because if not, then she has a problem.
Who would find that out? Can we
You look it
find
up.
that out?
I'll show you how to look it up.
Yeah.
But I'll show you guys all. So if you guys want to see, so it's March, right? So if you guys want to see, if there's Wayne County Treasurer paid taxes online. So look at it. You just click that. And you put in the address. So the one we're doing is Borger. Oops. Okay. See, it shows that nothing is owed here. You're gonna get, you will have taxes, you will have properties for this. I'm trying to, does she have? I'm sorry.
Where did you go? To the-
Wayne County, Google Wayne County treasurers.
Does she have to pay the 3 years or just 1 year, just to get to the closing table?
She can pay the first year. Just to-
Right. Well, one of the agents. Yeah,
No, she can pay it, that 1 year.
yeah,
Yeah, she can.
because she wants to pay the taxes from what she's getting out of it.
She can pay it. She can do that too.
That will be part of the closing, right? That
Yeah.
will be paid off at the closing?
Mhm.
Isn't she responsible for the 3 years?
She is responsible for your year. She's saying to save some time.
Okay,
Yeah.
because what she's trying to do, I guess she don't want to pay for it right now out of pocket. She's trying to get it out of whatever she's making from the house to put towards the taxes. So she doesn't have to come up with that upfront. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, she will. She'll be able to do it. She will always pay those taxes. We'll take out of her proceeds. Sonia's saying to buy some time to sell it, and she only pays, so it's 2022,
Mhm.
19, 20, okay. She's talking about her 2019 taxes.
Okay.
She's saying, can she only pay her 2019 taxes right now? Yeah, that'll give her a year.
Right.
If she pays off her 2019 taxes, she can stay in the house for another year and not worry about it. Does she want to? Probably not. It's gonna keep collecting interest.
Yeah.
I wish I had a house that I could show you guys. I don't know any addresses off the top of my head. But, okay, anyway, so that's how you read a title commitment.
So always it's March 1st is the cutoff.
I'm sorry?
Always it's March 1st.
Always.
Yeah.
When the taxes have not been paid for the prior year, March 1st of the following year, it's considered delinquent. Always. Okay?
Yes.
So that's how you read a commitment. Those are the 4 most important pages. Everything else is just legal gibberish. That like I have. Okay. Okay. So now let's go back here.
Question, do you have like a chain of title that we can see?
Oh, yeah, sure. We don't really share the chain of title with the agents because they don't need it. The bank usually needs it. But this is our chain of title for this property right here. So a chain of title are the last few, actually, okay. A chain of title shows us the last deed that was on record. This is the quitclaim deed that actually altered the title of our property. This deed was recorded in error against our property. Okay, and that's why we had to fix it. Okay, but the seller knew who this person was, so we got it fixed. But this is the last chain of title, and then this was the deed from when they purchased the property in 2013.
What was the error, if you don't mind?
I'm sorry,
What was the error?
the error,
What was it?
they recorded it against the wrong property. They quitclaimed it. They quitclaimed it to somebody else. So a random person quitclaimed it to another random LLC, and they used our legal description for 4913 Middlesex. Now, I don't know if you know these Dearborn streets, Middlesex and Horger, like right by each other. It's in the same subdivision. There's Middlesex, Horger, and like a bunch of other streets. So all this person did was remember I told you guys, we don't care about the address. We care about the legal description. But you see what he did? He used our legal description, but it was intentionally made. And even though this person doesn't own this property, like they have no interest in it whatsoever, they still clouded title. Okay, so that's the chain of title. And then the deed that where they bought the property, that's the last deed on record. Okay,
And you go back 40 years. So
we go back 40 years. So that's just what we share with the bank. But do you want to say on our end? I've never shared the data trace like our, let's see if I have it here. I have to have it here. This one's like a Wayne County search. This is like a pretty thorough, extensive search we did. And then we usually use data trace. It's right here. Like you guys will never see this, but this is like for us. This is our extensive search. This goes back all the way to like 1971.
So what if there was a quitclaim deed that was never recorded?
There's no way for us to know about that. And we leave it to SAR to let us know about that. And that's why they signed the owner's affidavit at the closing table that swears nobody else has an interest in property. So a lot of families, what they do is they do quitclaim deeds to prepare them in case in the event that they were to pass or something. So is that the quitclaim deed that you're talking about or no? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no way for us to know about it. It's not recorded, it's not recorded. If they tell us about it and we have knowledge about it, we will require the original and then we would have to change the commitment.
Last question. I know that Michigan is a race state, right?
Is a what state?
Race state.
Yeah, it is. I'm surprised. Did you go to law school? Oh, okay. Were you a paralegal? Okay, so what he said Michigan is a race state. So what that means is we have a race recording statute in the state of Michigan. Whoever records first wins. So if I give you a deed and I give you a deed and then you record it first and Sonia records it after you, you win. Unless, Sonia, you're a bona fide purchaser. Her deed shows that I quitclaimed it to her for $1, but your deed shows that I quitclaimed it to you for $100,000 and you paid for it. You're considered a bona fide purchaser. You paid money for it, and you like feel like the judge will most likely, if you have a good attorney on your side, will say, no, Your Honor, my client was a bona fide purchaser. She got it for $1. She actually paid $100,000 for it. In that case, you would win. However, the race statute always kicks in first. Whoever records wins. That's why it's imperative for us as a title agency to make sure we get documents on record as soon as possible. So like,
that's what they mean by race,
yeah,
as in who comes first.
exactly. Right. Okay, so did they make you guys learn that for your real estate exam? I'm just curious.
Yes.
Oh, they do? Oh, okay, it's the wrong slide.
No, I don't remember that.
I remember everything, I remember that.
Yeah, I just,
He's from California. that's
property
right.
law was like my favorite law school class. Okay. Okay, ready with this. Okay, so if you have any issues whatsoever on title, you can call me. I'm really bad at voicemails. So I really need a message. Text me. I promise you I'll get back to your text eventually. Yes, Sonia, right, Sonia? I'll get back. Okay. And I'm almost always readily available to help your title, whatever you guys need. We have like a really great team, you know, so we're always readily available to help all of you. But don't ever wait till the last minute to review your commitment. Like you guys, when you receive your title commitment, please take initiative to review it. Just open it and look at it and make sure, okay, this is my seller matches. They have my buyer's name spelled right.
I'm sorry, when do you receive the commitment?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So when you submit your order to us, we say give us at least a week, about a week. Like the super rush orders, if you need it rushed, which we don't like to do because that's when mistakes happen. But like, let's say you have like Amanda just called, let's say the couple who, you know, let's say the spouse is not feeling well. And like, this is really, really urgent and we have to close by Friday just to avoid anything happening, God forbid. We're gonna rush it for you, you know, but in the
I went
event
for
that
a cash deal.
I'll rush it for you. If you need, no, not 2 weeks. If you need it rushed,
Yeah.
I'll get it done for you. But I don't like to say that because then I'll have everybody calling me saying, oh my God, rush. And for some reason, everybody's going to Lebanon tomorrow all the time. I get that all the time. We're going to Lebanon tomorrow. We have to close today.
What's this one around?
So I want to say, right now, it's about a week. Right now.
How much is it?
How much is the title search? So we don't charge our agents for the title search. So your seller pays a closing fee and the buyer pays a closing fee. So the agents never pay for title search. Okay, if your client just wants a title search for like their own personal benefit or use, let's say they own a random property and like, hey, you know, can you ask your title company how much it is? It's $350 for $250 for residential or $350 for residential, I'm not really sure. And commercial starts at $500 because commercial is like very expensive. Okay, but that's just for the search. Yeah.
Scenario. So there's a customer that I'm working with who has a quick link. On the public record, it shows that, it doesn't show his name, but it shows an LLC or a company. We'll have to, in order for me to sell it, we'll have to do to get a warranty. We'll have to. do a
Who owns the
search.
LLC?
It's not him.
Who's the LLC with?
Why that's.
But you can't always trust public records. Your guy owns that building,
He owns it, yeah.
but there's a random LLC on public records. Yeah, so you can't always trust public records. Like you see that quick claim deed I just showed you guys? Like somebody could have used that. They would have went to the city and they filed that property transfer affidavit. And they could have used that and now the city could possibly state that ILYLL LLC, whoever owns that property, but they don't. So that's when you have to get a title agency involved.
So he could legally own it, it's not a public record.
I can't answer that because I don't know, I didn't, it could be a million situations, it could be so many different scenarios. So I don't know, unless once I do the search, then I'll be able to look at it and tell you.
So when he's ready to sell, we definitely have to run out.
Oh yeah, you never, ever, ever not deal with a title agency for any transactions ever. Unless we don't get loans. And then we're problem solvers, guys. Like I never want you guys to feel like, oh my God, this title's messed up. Like we can't close on it. No. Like I will do anything in my power to try and help you guys close your deals. I know how important it is for you guys to get to the closing table. And it's just important for us as well. So don't ever look at a title commitment and get scared. If you guys get to that point where you open it and you're like, whoa, my gas station deals are the hardest deals. Like we have to deal with a ton of suppliers and fuel supply agreements, and they're all disasters. But we get through it. Like I have meetings and we get through the requirements together. So don't ever let a commitment scare you, okay? Always call me if you guys need anything. And then, always pay attention to the emails that you guys get from our office and from the Qualia Connect portal. You guys will always get messages. Pay attention to those. Because sometimes we're asking for just a payoff, or we need the seller social security number to clarify that that seller's, like, there's a lot of Ali Baidoons. I could use the name Ali Baidoon, but you know how many Ali Baidoons do you know? I have like 20 Ali Baidoons stored, and they're all different Ali Baidoons. Like I have Ali Keys Baidoon. I have Alex Baidoon. You know, I have a bunch of different Ali Baidoons on my phone. So we have to verify that the Ali Baidoon who has a judgment lien against his name is not the same Ali Baidoon as your seller. So we'll send you emails regarding that, and sometimes it is. And if it is, we need payoffs for the judgment liens against his name. So we have to work on those together to get us to the closing table. Okay, so pay attention to those. So title insurance, I'm gonna have to sit down for this because my feet are starting to hurt. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a scenario that happened to me, and it was like, like legit, this is what happened. So there was 2 quitclaim deeds that were recorded.
I know what a quick claim deed is, but you just like to know, clear it out.
So a deed is a deed, regardless, there's different types of deed. And a deed transfers property from one person to another. So Maya could quit claim her house from her name to your name. It would be Maya to Zena, that's okay. Or you convey interest of a person from where you convey interest of a property from one person to another.
Is it for like a certain amount?
No,
No, it doesn't
you can
matter.
put any amount. You can put $1, you can put 100,000, you can put $1 million. But a quit claim deed does not guarantee the property is being clear of any liens. A warranty deed is.
Okay.
And like I do a session on just what deeds are and like what the difference is, if you ever wanna.
Yeah.
On that, okay? So quit claim deeds are usually done between family members. Like when my mom and dad, they have a property up north, a small property up north. They added my name onto the title. They did a quit claim deed.
So they transferred the deed to your name.
They added me to their name.
They added.
They left their names on title, but they added my name to it as well. Okay. Yeah, so I never recommend quitclaim deeds. I never advise them ever, because unless it's for family purposes. So like when I quitclaimed my home to my trust, different, because it's my trust, I'm quitclaiming it. But if you're buying a property, if you ever get a seller that says, I'm not selling it to on a warranty deed, it's gonna be on a quitclaim deed, you have to ask why. Never, ever, ever buy on a quitclaim deed. Never. And don't ever advise your buyers to buy on a quitclaim deed either. Because quitclaim deeds, we don't like them. Title insurance agencies don't like them. So if I see a quitclaim deed where it's from like Zena to Maya, I'm gonna ask her, why did you buy on a quitclaim deed? You know, and she'll tell me, oh, it's my sister. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so it's different for every situation. But I had a quitclaim deed on a chain of title, and then that person quitclaimed it from their name to an LLC, and then from the LLC to my seller, and my seller sold it. So we looked at the chain of title, but we didn't really look, like we didn't deep look into it. You know how you just said I would ask her, why did you buy it?
Yeah.
This was like 2 quitclaim deeds ago, so I didn't look into it. So about 4 months after we closed, we get a call from the buyer. The IRS went knocking on their door. It was a $90,000 house, and they said, the seller of this property owes us $300,000. They said, no, we closed on it. We have title insurance. Guess what? That was a claim for us. Why? Because he changed his initial. He changed the spelling of his last name and his initial. So when we ran a name search, it didn't come up. And it was a claim. But that's why it's important for your buyer to have title insurance, because if your buyer didn't have title insurance, guess what? He would have been screwed. Yeah. He would have had an IRS claim against his thing because he bought it on a quitclaim deed. And he did a title search. Our title search was clear.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't see the IRS claim. So we got hit with the claim. Now the claim was at $300,000, but the IRS took what they could, which was the full $90,000 that they were covered for. And now the buyer has like a peace of mind. Another thing that happened was in 2014, there was a quitclaim deed filed to a girl's name. And then in 2017 or 2016, she sold it. We were the title agency. And about a year later, I get a call. The gentleman who had quitclaimed it to her in 2014 was incarcerated. He was in jail. He was in jail. And he went to the house after he got out of jail, and there was another family living there. And he said, this is my house. And they said, we've been living here for a year. And he said, this is my house, it's in my name. Guess what? That quitclaim deed was a fraudulent deed. She forged his name.
Oh,
And that family that was living there not had a problem, but because they had title insurance, they were covered.
okay.
And that was a claim on us. Even though there's no way for us to tell a deed was fraudulent. But we have to go back and sue the notary and sue the initial seller, the one that forged the deed. So, but that becomes our problem. At that point, at least your buyer has a peace of mind. And that's why title insurance is very important. And those were just 2 claims that happened with us. Alhamdulillah, we don't get claims like that often, but you know, it does happen. So that's why title insurance is very important, okay? And then, we already went over this. An encumbrance is a registered interest on the home from someone who's not the owner. Sort of like that quitclaim deed that was, well, that's not really considered an encumbrance, but it could be. Where somebody else has an interest in the home. What you'll see often is like the new houses that are built, contractors will place a claim of interest on the house against the home. So, because they're spending all this money on lumber and tiles and stuff for the home, and they wanna make sure they get paid. So they they don't own the home, but they'll put like an encumbrance against the home to make sure that their interest is covered, okay? A defect in title, which is kind of serious, what we just went over, like an error, like the legal description error that we just saw. Okay, that's a defect on title. It's important to note that each title insurance policy has its own terms, conditions, and exclusions. So remember, the title insurance protects the home buyer and lender from past and future events. So let's say, Zina, you just sold your house to Maya, and then in like 2 months, the IRS comes and they tell Maya, hey, Zina has a IRS claim. Well, there's no way for us to see it. Guess what? You're covered. Or Maya's covered. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Another important thing to remember is that title insurance premium is paid once. So you'll get your seller saying, why do I have to pay title insurance? The buyer's buying the house. Well, I always tell the sellers this. Yeah, but you're avoiding yourself from getting into like a lawsuit. But sometimes the seller doesn't even do anything. Like that one file that I had where I told you guys about where the old quitclaim deed, it was like 2 quitclaim deeds before that, and there was a mistake in his name, it was misspelled, and he did it intentionally, and the IRS came after. The seller was what we call bona fide purchaser. The seller had nothing to do with that. She had no knowledge of the IRS claim. But because everything happened so fast, you know, she paid that premium once, she wasn't dragged into anything. We had to eat that, and basically everybody's protected. Okay.
Was it an internal mistake because you have to have his ID or her ID? And if they made it.
It was not necessarily old. It was all, the deeds were recorded within 2 months of us closing. And the person that quitclaimed their name off title had sold it to her on the side. Like he did like a quitclaim deed transaction, which is like, here, here's 100 grand, and they exchanged it in that way. So he wasn't our seller. But it was a past event technically. And so they're covered with title insurance.
You guys wouldn't have to sell
We didn't go after the seller because the seller didn't know. The seller has no idea that the person she bought it from had a lien against his name. But she bought it from him on a quitclaim deed. Where did we mess up? We shouldn't have insured over that transaction because she bought it on a quitclaim deed. I usually say, like, Maya, why did you buy it on a quitclaim deed from Zina? And, oh, it's my sister. Okay. But I didn't question that change of title.
So
That's
you,
what-
you wouldn't insure if it was a quick claim deed. If I came in and I, bought a house from, she's not my sister, she's not my relative, and I asked you to insure the house, you wouldn't.
It's a business decision.
Okay.
that I have to make. So we don't like prior quick claim deeds that are recorded. So like I have like this one investor who buys a lot of homes in Wayne County, and his LLC owns a lot of homes. So if it's one of his properties, I'm comfortable doing it. You get it? Because I know him.
Okay.
So it's a case by case basis.
Okay.
But in this situation, that's where we dropped the ball. We didn't investigate the chain of title good enough. Okay, so you're covered.
And how much usually the insurance?
It's all, there's a chart. I
Okay.
can have Aya send you guys a chart in the group chat.
Yeah, because they're probably gonna ask this question.
Yeah, it's all based on the sales price and the title and the loan amount, okay? The coverage is good for as long as the home buyer owns the property. So as long as Sonia buys the property in Sonia's name, as long as Sonia owns it, the title insurance is good. If Sonia quit claims it to Zina, that title insurance policy is null and void. You quit claim it to Zina, and then we later, the IRS places a lien against your name, that's against her name, that's your problem, or you got the prior owner's name, that's your problem. You should not have quitclaimed it. Once you quitclaim it to anything or anybody else, that policy is null and void unless it's quitclaimed to your trust. Once it's quitclaimed to your trust, you're covered. Okay? So that's why when people get to the closing table and they're like, okay, listen, I want to add my sister on title. No, why didn't you tell your loan officer before? If you guys ever want, if somebody ever wants their spouse on title, you want to be a rock star agent, get them to sign a purchase agreement. Don't ever do a quitclaim deed after the closing. I don't care what your loan officer says to you, by the way. If your loan officer says, no, well, that's gonna be too much, we have to send it back to the underwriter, let's just do it later. No. Be adamant, call me, I'll talk to your loan officer. I'll tell them, we have put them on what we call the 1003, the application. They're not going to be a borrower. The mortgage is not going to populate on a credit. You're just letting the bank know that, hey, my name is Zena, I'm the borrower. I'm responsible for the mortgage payment, but I'm adding my husband on title. I want him on title with me in the event that anything happens. And then he just has to sign a couple documents, like he's not responsible for the mortgage payment. That doesn't go on his, yes, that does not go on his credit report. People ask all the time, well, I don't want to.
So now my husband can add me on title, right? That's what we're buying a house.
Yeah, make sure you sign, is it gonna be his name?
Yeah.
Sign the purchase agreement. And let the bank know that you are not a borrower, you're just solely there to be on title with him.
So you can do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, and if the loan officer tells you, we'll just do a quick clean deed after the closing, no, we don't do that, Why don't we do that? Because it avoids the title insurance policy. So then you could say, no, I'm not doing a quick clean deed, because if I do a quick clean deed, the title insurance policy that the seller bought is not void.
So husband and wife, the wife decided to buy a house and she don't want to add them to she doesn't have to.
No,
Okay.
she does not have to, and not only that.
What if she wants to use, like, because they filed joint tax return, and she's gonna use to get a loan, so how does that work?
He doesn't, unless the bank's gonna only require him to be a borrower, she can't
Okay.
qualify loan.
Right, so he can be the borrower, but the deed will be in her name only?
No.
Right,
The bank's not gonna give you a loan on a house that you don't own. Imagine I'm buying this building and I'm like, okay, bank, I need the money, give it to me. Oh, Sonia, give the money to Sonia in her name, but put the building in my name.
it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. That, I always like
So
to use
they
that
both have
example.
to be, on
On
the
title.
On title,
Yeah, whoever the bank is giving the money to always has to be on title.
okay, because I have a situation like this now.
Always. The bank is not going to give me money if I don't own the property. Think about it from a lot of perspective, right? When you look at it in the big picture, it doesn't make sense.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm. No, she's fine on divorce. It's fine.
so she should wait until the divorce is finalized
Yeah,
and then buy the property.
right.
I mean, like, even when, like, I went through my divorce, I waited to open up any new LLCs until my divorce was finalized. I did not touch anything until my divorce was finalized. Okay?
So how does that work with LLC? Can she put the property in an LLC?
No,
She
totally.
cannot, she cannot, so she can,
Start a
so,
couple breaks and wait. Hurry.
well, she's almost done, yeah.
If you're divorced.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
month, like she wants to buy a house right now, but I told her. maybe
No,
she-
her
But when she
attorney-
has a situation, what if she finds a house and?
Right, that's where,
You
that's
know what
where.
happens?
and
You know
I'm
what
not-
happens?
I know,
You know
that's
what
where we're
happens?
at
He's
right
gonna
now.
stop in, he's gonna say, she used marital money to buy that house, half of that house is my house. And she
Yeah,
screwed herself.
because that's what's
No.
happening right now, she
Yeah,
found the property
she
and
found
I'm
what she
like,
wants.
no.
She'll find, tell her she'll find a better one.
Yeah.
Well, she gets rid of it.
I've been telling that to myself for like months now, I'll find a better one.
We'll do it
It's
to
not
us.
happening.
Okay, so like the title insurance part, you guys understand it, I went through that, it's pretty detailed. Okay, the buyer gets the title insurance policy for the lender, the seller gets the title insurance policy for the buyer. Because the buyer has to insure the mortgage company. That's why the mortgage company requires title insurance. Remember the 860 fund commitment?
Yeah.
The buyer purchases that for the
Yeah, so the
bank,
buyer, so I have to pay that, the 860.
for the bank, because
Okay.
you're promising the bank that that mortgage is gonna be in first lien position. It's the
Yeah.
only lien on title. And we as an insurance company are insuring that. So you're paying that premium. The seller is saying, I'm giving you an insurance policy as the buyer. The seller is saying, this is for you, Zena. I'm giving this to you because you're buying this. I'm promising the property is free and clear of any liens.
Oh, okay.
So there's two policies. Okay, do you guys have any questions? No. Okay.
know.
All right, guys, I hope that was informative.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're very welcome.
All right, and then as far as the closing, the text, I got some here, Lola.
Yeah.
That's okay, you explain it to me how it works. Yeah.
Because I was loading.
So if they want to do the closing at their office, can we do that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so now it's okay to do that?
Yeah.
Just talk to whoever, so who would go there from your team? I have it on 15.
It would be, we would settle it, don't worry about it.
Okay. Why does he want to do it there? What's the reason?
I'll tell you.
That's okay.
Actually, Lola, when you're done, I do have a question.
Okay, you're very welcome. Hold on.
Oh, hi, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's my daughter.
That's your daughter?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Are you working
She
here?
wants to learn the business. She came to help me, but I told her come and see.
It's so cute. I'm doing Plaza Destination Wedding
Yeah.
in Jamaica.
Oh, oh yeah,
There's
I
so
so
many
many picture. I'm like, oh shit. It looks like it's 80 degrees.
Oh, that was in Jamaica?
You've never been to Jamaica?
No, that was in Jamaica,
Yeah.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
I thought it was,
That's
I
cool.
I just assumed like it was in Boca, Florida, because they're not.
They live here and they went to Jamaica to have the wedding.
Uh-huh.
That's so cool. Different.
She has a lot of family in Acadia. It was like a perfect meeting point because Jamaica allows everybody in.
Did her dad go?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so awesome.
yeah.
Oh, that's so
Her
awesome.
and her dad loved her.
Well, do you have like the practice that we're doing there? If I just wanted to- wanted to go over.
Yeah. you-
Yeah, me too. I need one too.
Okay.
Good point.
Who has said they had a question? You? You.
Okay, so like I'm interested in this property. When do I, okay, I'm supposed to send it in office today. It's for me, right?
Okay.
When do I have to like look up if there's anything on the?
Once the purchase agreement is signed, and you start your loan process, that's when you guys don't ever send us an order until the private inspection is done. If you decide to do a private inspection, don't send us an order. If you're taking out a mortgage, wait till the appraisal comes in. But nowadays, you don't really have appraisal issues. Everything's being appraised,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Okay. So my question was, the way does he want to do it at his, does he own, is that his
Oh.
title company? Probably.
No, it's like, you know how like I'm part of KW?
Yeah, he is.
Well,
Right?
not him, the current,
Yeah.
oversee.
Yeah. that's his-
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a share in that one.
Okay, so it's.
So that's gonna be, a split between us and title, because your buyer is not a mortgage, right?
Right,
If your buyer was paying cash, you wouldn't even get one, because there's no buyer's policy.
right.
Got it?
Yeah.
See how you're understanding it?
As I'm doing it, as
Yeah.
I'm going through it.
Yeah,
In the beginning, I'm like, what is this?
it's
a
very,
lot of
very,
information.
yeah. it's
But
very-
as I'm going through it, so now the.
Dahlia. Sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah,
So the title, so it'll be title insurance on the seller's side.
are you the listing agent?
No, I'm the buyer's side this
But
time.
your buyer is not a mortgage?
Yes.
Okay, so the buyer is paying the title insurance premium to the bank, and then Dave's seller is buying your buyer, is purchasing a title insurance policy for your buyer to ensure the property is free and clear of any liens for the buyer.
So that my buyer's only doing it for the mortgage, for his mortgage company, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
because it's mortgage.
Yep, because no bank is gonna give you a loan without
Yeah.
ensuring that the mortgage is gonna be reported.
Yeah.
So who does the bank, that I'll give it to you guys in like a big picture, like it's easier to understand it this way. So let's say Sonia's taking out a mortgage, right? You think the bank is gonna wire her the money to her bank account and say, okay,
Oh, no,
we trust you
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
They wire it to us,
Mhm.
the title insurance agency.
Right.
We're fully insured, we're certified, we're licensed, we have a process, you know, there's like a very thorough, extensive application process to even get approved with that bank.
Mhm.
So like every bank that sends us an order, we have to be approved with them. And so we go through a
Okay.
process with them. So they send us the money, and then we're the ones that distribute
Unless
where the
it's
funds.
cash.
Once it's cash, cash.
Mhm.
I do a lot of people that, I do a lot of cash.
Yeah, my first one was cash and now I
Yeah.
have another one. Third one is cash, and it's not
Yeah.
gonna be, that's why this is different, because it was a loan
Good.
and it was through, another, okay, so we'll just hold it there then.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, and he asked me, so I wanted to see how it works.
Yeah,
If
that's
it's
how it
okay,
works.
we'll just go there.
The listing agent always chooses the location. And a lot of times nowadays, we do a lot of true splits, where buyers close here, sellers close there.
Mhm. Why did he want us all to go there? Is there a reason?
No,
No.
probably feels it's gonna be easier, it's not true split. It's true split me, you have to wait till we sign, we exchange that,
It's just
it's
easier.
just smoother.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, we'll go there. I'll let him know.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, Sonia, you're welcome. It was nice meeting you. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank
with
you.
your real
I'm gonna have a
career,
lot of
but
questions.
I hope, you know what, I'm gonna be the worst person ever. I don't have any business cards.
Well, that's my daughter.
I'm the worst person
I'm
ever.
gonna have a lot of
But our
questions.
information is, my office is in here. I have an office in here.
I know.
I'm always here. Sandy's here. But I'll give you my email.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Nice to meet you.
Is the training at 1 or is it?
I don't know. What's your email address?
Yeah.
FRANCICO,
Send me
MI,
FRANCIOCO.
CISCO,
Oh, okay.
MI,
N is in Nancy.
State,
Next state.
That's right.
without the app.
the city.
I was gonna send you this.
Well,
Here.
you know anything about like, our deals on the contract with like relocation companies?
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Contract with them, I don't even know what it is.
Hold on. I'll talk to you about it in a minute, Kate.
It will be, yeah, ESTA.
Oh, did I spell it wrong?
Yeah.
FRAN, Francisco,
Francisco, MI.
estate at Gmail?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
I hope you guys learned.
And,
Oh, great. Okay. I hope this YouTube thing is not public.